And then Jaden's the Ferrari, right? That's just how I look at it.
This is the one-time Purdue Boilermaker. The fly had 6-4 to the floor. Dressed in the Piston 23. Say hello to Jaden Ivey.
I'm a Piston, bro.
With the fifth pick in the 2022 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons selected Jaden Ivey. From the moment Adam Silver called his name, Detroit knew they had their guy. His tremendous ties to Detroit, including his grandfather being a Lion, his mother playing for the Shock, and his dad being from Detroit and attending Detroit Country Day, Detroit knew that they had their perfect fit. While all of his fits off the court were tremendous, it was his on-the-court abilities that really grabbed everyone's attention. In his rookie season, he played 74 games, averaged 16.3 points, 3.9 rebounds, 5.2 assists, shot 41.6% from the field, 34.3% from behind the long line, and 74.7% from the free throw line. While Ivey's burst of speed is what grabs everyone's attention, there's much more to his game than the eye might first tell.
We often think of Cade Cunningham as the number one playmaker on the Detroit Pistons, but that's really not to overlook Ivey's possibly best skill, which is his own playmaking. Ivey led all rookies in assists and was about an assist over second place. In the last 2 months of the season, when the ball became much more in Ivey's hands and he played much more of that primary point guard, primary ball handler role, Ivey averaged over 7 assists a game for 2 straight months. He has the ability to put 2 feet in the paint consistently, shift the defense, and find his teammates. He's also extremely willing to find his teammates, spraying out the shooters like Livers and Burks, and developed a really nice chemistry with Jalen Duren, finding him for lobs and dump-off passes when he beat his man and got deep into the paint. He just makes easy opportunities for other guys with his athleticism, his dribble, and his passing ability. Along with that, one thing that really stood out to me is his ability to keep the dribble, snaking it, making a couple different moves within the pick and roll while the pick and roll action is still happening, while the guy's rolling down, while shooters are moving around on the perimeter, to sort of manipulate and get to the spot that he wants to do, to get a little floater in, to overpower the point guard that he's going against, or to, again, drop it off to Duren or the roller or a shooter on the outside. I thought his playmaking ability in his rookie year was almost, the brightest of bright spots in a pretty bright rookie year all around.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Ivey so highly over this past, rookie year. He's had really high moments and also some pretty low moments. But man, are the highs fun. When he's cooking, when that shot is falling, when he's getting inside, which is pretty much all the time, he's becoming such a threat, like you guys said, to make plays for other teammates because he just attracts so much attention, especially when that shot is down. And then he just has that freak athleticism, that just gives us so many options. It should be pretty interesting to see how much he's used on the ball and off the ball because we, like everybody, we didn't get to see him play with Cade Cunningham for an extended part of the season. If you think about it, that backcourt duo is the face of the franchise for the next 10 years. However, with Ivey, like we said, the highs are high, but the lows can be kind of low with him. He's a really high turnover guy. And sometimes we've seen, 6, 7, I think even 8 turnover games at times. And there's a few silly things. I've noted a few times. It's 2-on-1 fast break, sometimes even a 3-on-1. He seems to force a no-look pass. And, every now and then it's really cool. But a lot of the time, or some of the time, that ball ends up, out of bounds and a fan is catching it. I think overall IQ is something to work on. One more thing I want to touch on with him is the relationship he has with Jalen Duren. Those two guys were really on the same page as the season went on. In the pick and roll, they were fantastic together. They seemed to throw lobs to each other, which was something we were lacking last season. Just really excited this upcoming season for him. He's got stuff to work on, but the potential's definitely there to be, that elite player next to Cade.
Like you said, Valley, the highs are highs and the lows are lows. But with those lows, not only are the turnovers, but his defensive ability as well. Jaden Ivey is small by no means at 6'4", but he isn't going to be the biggest guy out there. He's not going to be able to switch on to 1 through 5, not that everybody is, but he's definitely not at the top of the list being able to do so. He's going to be able to guard the other guards on the other team and maybe a wing or two, but that's probably the upper echelons of what he's going to be able to switch to defensively. In the Dwayne Casey system, that would be a problem, but it will be interesting to see how Monty Williams employs the defensive system and how that looks for the Pistons this upcoming season. We know that Bojan Bogdanovic is basically an Olay defender. Whoever he's guarding is basically going to get by him, but hopefully Jaden Ivey can pick up some slack so that he's not the second of the 5 guys out there that's the defensive liability.
Defensive rating of 121 as a player is bad. He had a positive defensive win shares. You can't really put a lot into defensive stats because offense can be quantified singularly much better than defense can. But pretty much all the defensive stats, like on Basketball Reference StatMuse, kind of put him at a slight negative, and that I think follows up what we saw on the court. Where he does have like some pretty nice tools. He has a pretty high steal percentage, so he can get into the passing lanes. He can strip guys, but I think more often than not, it was lapses in concentration, position, rotation, stuff that sort of made the defense as a whole fall apart. That he was definitely a part of. Jaden Ivey was an incredibly physical driver. He really wasn't scared of just slamming into the guy in front of him. That ended him up with a lot of and ones. He had 33 and ones this past year, which is comparable to Anthony Edwards' rookie year. But with that physicality, yeah, he wasn't able to draw a lot of and ones, and I felt this. You guys can talk on this as well, but a lot of and ones in the mid-range where he would slam into the guy in front of him and then have the balance to just pop up into a mid-range jump shot sort of immediately in one motion. And that takes a lot of balance, that takes a lot of strength, and that's not something you really see a lot out of guys, which is a fun skill that Jaden Ivey has. He can really bully other guards. He's not the biggest guy, but comes from very athletic stock, football players, other basketball players, and you can tell it, you can see it on his body. For a 6'4" young man, he is very built. And Brian Scalabrine pointed out he has a Russell Westbrook type athleticism into him, a reckless abandon driving to the rim where he really doesn't care if there's a guy in front of him because that guy's going to get hit, and like he's probably moving more than Jaden's moving because Jaden is a ball of muscle.
Going off the physical tools, I think that's such an underrated aspect of his game because such an underrated part of being an elite scorer in this league is making free throws and getting to the free throw line. Like, you don't see a lot of 25 plus point per game scorers who averaged, 1 or 2 trips to the line per game. He shot 4.8 free throws per game last year, and I feel like just being a Detroit Piston, being in Detroit and a rookie, that number is already going to be lower than average. So, I take 4.8 and I really see it like honestly, I see it like 6 or 7 per game. And he's just so aggressive with those physical tools. Like you mentioned, 6'4", 6'5", good size for a guard, but that wingspan is freakishly long, isn't it? I think those long arms are going to help him in the future. I think defensively, there's no reason he shouldn't at the very least be competent. You talked about hiding Bojan. I don't think there's a need to hide Jaden Ivey. I think with his extreme athleticism, with his length and, decent size, at least next to Cade, it's a good tall backcourt partnership. There's no reason he shouldn't be very improved on the defensive end this year. I think that might be one of his biggest areas to improve in this upcoming season.
And we know that Jaden Ivey is capable of improving. I mean, when Cade went down, the ball was basically in his hands a lot more of the time. So to see how he improved, and, a lot of people knew he had the passing ability, but not to the degree that he displayed. And it's great to see how far he came in just not only a season, but his rookie season. Now that he has a full off season, he's going to be able to display probably a lot more. We saw him in Summer League in his rookie season. He fell down on his first drive, and it was a concern of all of us. Like, can Jaden Ivey slow down enough to be efficient? Stop, go, stop, go. We saw that. Connie mentioned that he's become really good in the mid-range, snaking screens, and he's a ball of muscle. If he does want to come at you, he's going to barrel into you, and he's going to finish. He's a very acrobatic finisher, too, can finish with either hand. He's going to be a problem in this league for a long time, and it's great to see that in year one, people were already thinking Jaden Ivey's going to, get 2 feet in the paint. How are we going to defend that? And he's already got a weapon that a lot of guys like Killian Hayes haven't even developed yet with their 3rd and 4th year in the league. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jaden Ivey takes this great tool that he has and along with his passing ability to further his career.
The reason why it's so easy to fall in love with this guy and his game, and that's the work ethic. From what we've heard, this guy's got the Mamba mentality, like the exact thing. He's got the gene inside of him. He's been kicked out of multiple away stadiums because he just takes too damn long at shoot-arounds, like He's just obsessed with working. And this whole summer, damn well he's in there. He's working. That's why he wanted to play Summer League. The mentality to get better is what makes it so easy to get behind this guy and see why, he has MVP scoring title potential.
That mentality to get better, I thought really showed up in his jump shot. I don't have the month by month mid-range stats, but I felt those, I don't know about y'all, but that mid-range definitely improved throughout the year. I do have the 3-point stats though. In November, he was 30%. December, he was 31%. January, he was 32%. And then February, he was 42%. March, he was 35%. And April, he was 38%. So those last 3 months of the season, he was like an above average 3-point shooter. That was really the weak point that people were looking at in his game, was the jump shot, because he has that downhill ability, he has the playmaking ability. It's like, can you just sit in the paint on him? But I think he showed with his own improvement is something that he did not have in the beginning of the season. It was through his own improvement, his work, that he is somebody that you have to take seriously outside the arc. Free throw shooting follows the same sort of pattern, where he was in the 80s the last 2 months of the season, where he was low 70s and 60s in the first 6. It's just all improvement with this guy. It's just like consistently getting better in all these facets of the game so quickly.
You bring up those last 3 months. February, 16.4 points per game, 6 assists. March, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. And then in April, he averaged 22.5 points per game with almost 5 assists. So that steady incline leaves you with so much optimism heading into the offseason. But then again, you do have to take those with a grain of salt, with the end of season just being, a depleted basketball team.
And, depleted from the other side as well. NBA teams aren't putting out their best in March and April. But his percentages look better too, right? And I think that's really impressive, where you become more of an on-ball. You take on a greater rate. His usage percentage went up in the past 3 seasons, and his percentages went up with his stats. I think when you can increase your load and maintain efficiency, that's good. If you can increase your load and increase efficiency, that is fantastic. And we're just talking stats. We watched all these games. We saw with our eyes as Jaden Ivey became a better basketball player. First game to last game, it's almost night and day with this guy. He was a good rookie coming in. He was great coming out, right? There was so much improvement throughout the season. It felt like he was developing before our eyes. It was crazy. Kept adding throughout the season and really never subtracted anything. I'm so excited. I say that about everything related to the Pistons, but I'm so excited. The fastest player in the league is on a fast track to NBA stardom.